He forgot our anniversary. And then he posted his ex on Instagram, a full-blown tribute. I'm talking on the same day. Guess whose date he was really celebrating? I'm sitting on my kitchen floor as I'm telling you this, because something about cold tile keeps you honest. It's after midnight. The fridge is making that low, stubborn hum. My phone is inverted because I don't have the courage to look at it without my stomach flipping somersaults, and there's a candle melted into a pool on the counter. The house smells of rosemary and baked ziti, and now every time I catch a whiff, the back of my throat closes. Let me back up. I'm Lena, 29. I own a small apartment with a paint color I picked from a swatch called Toasted Marshmallow because I was trying to be the kind of person who picks paint colors based on warmth instead of anarchy. And Evan, my very new ex, was the kind of person who made anarchy seem adventurous. We met at a laundromat on a Sunday because life is hilarious. He was the one who got my stuck quarter out of the dryer with a butter knife and a grin and said, "You're going to owe me a quarter and a conversation." It did. We talked on the plastic chairs while our clothes clattered in the drum like money in a piggy bank. He talked about design school and how he wanted to make furniture that didn't just look good, but felt safe to fall asleep on. I talked about copywriting and how half my time is taken up trying to make people believe that mayonnaise is exciting. He laughed in a way that was almost an inhalation. Then he walked me home, carrying my hamper like some modern-day knight of the spinning cycle. He paid attention in all the little ways. He kept extra Advil in his glove compartment because I get headaches when it's about to rain. He left funny post-it notes and stuck them in my book, so I discover a secret every time I turn the page. I'm proud of you. Call your mom. You look like a lemon when you're angry, which mean, but true. He'd tilt his head and listen when I talked, like it actually mattered. It wasn't big or cinematic. It was the daily softness texture that made me feel chosen. We became the couple that had traditions. Saturday mornings were farmers markets and negotiating $1 off strawberries like we were in a sitcom. Sunday nights were pasta and thrifted wine glasses that never matched. August 17th, we called it our day. Our first August 17th was a year after that laundromat. We were sitting on my roof with pizza and those little cans of wine, do not recommend, and he was like, "We should make this our anniversary." Easy. Same day every year. Something to look forward to. His knees were touching mine. It was easy to say yes. He put fairy lights up in my living room last August 17th while I was in the shower. There was a blanket fort situation and the closing credits of some terrible 80s movie on when I got out. He tasted a cooked, terrible, and we slow danced in the kitchen to nothing at all, really, just the sort of hug that sways. He made me a playlist called Lake Songs because we'd never been to a lake together. It was ridiculous, it was perfect. There were, though, small things. Very small, like sand you do not notice until it is in your shoe and you are 10 miles from home. He never talked about his ex. That sounds normal, right? People don't want to talk about their exes. It wasn't that he never mentioned her. Her name was Mara. She came up in that casual, exasperated way. Mara had this IKEA bookshelf that leaned like it was trying to escape the room. Or Mara would wake me up at 3 to tell me she couldn't sleep, and he'd laugh. As if it was an innocuous joke now that it was over. We broke up amicably, he said. It just wasn't working. I wish her well. The way people do. They were together for 5 years, which is a lot of time to boil down to wish her well. One time, he had this glass candle on his dresser that had a fig and smoke scent, and I asked him where it was from, and he was like, "Oh, a friend gave it to me," and switched subjects. I found out later it was Mara's brand. She sold hand-poured candles at craft fairs on the weekends. He didn't hide it, he just didn't offer the information, which felt like a distinction I couldn't explain. He always had his phone face down. Everyone tells me that's nothing. Everyone also knows it can be something. I did not want to be the jealous girlfriend. Nonetheless, the word jealous there makes me uncomfortable. I have this stupid badge in my head from my early 20s. Cool girl. Chill girl. The one who doesn't ask questions and gets rewarded with a guy who loves her because she doesn't make a big deal about anything. That girl gets nothing but chest pains and good snacks. Anyway, our anniversary this year. I took the day off. Not even to do anything fancy. I was going for a feeling of memory in our space. I picked up wine from the store that knows us because we always ask for the bottle with the fox on it. I put on the playlist. I finally made his favorite, the baked ziti that takes way too long and makes the whole apartment smell like January and grandparents, in a good way. He was gone to work early, kissed my cheek, and said, "Tonight, 8:30. Dress like you're staying in." He had that smile on his face like he was in on a secret, and I clung to it. By noon, he'd texted, "Crazy day, still good for tonight." At 3, "Running late, I'm sorry. Save me a dance?" At 6:30, "Please don't be mad. Vendor fell through. I owe you. Be home ASAP. Promise." I took a breath and told myself not to spin. It's a day. It's our day, but it's a day. People have work, life happens. The world doesn't owe anyone a perfectly timed moment. I lit the candle. I plated food and then unplated it when it became cold. I poured a glass of fox wine and drank it too fast. At 8:17, no joke, not on purpose, I went and made the mistake of opening Instagram. I wasn't looking for anything. I was sick of sitting at the door like a cat. My thumb did what it did, and now I'm staring at this photo on Evan's page. Not a story, not something that will be deleted in 24 hours. A post. There's this sun-bleached, grainy picture of him and Mara, young and ridiculous on some beach, hair blown into the wind, sunglasses that belonged on other people. They're laughing. She has her hand over her mouth as if she's trying to keep joy inside. And the caption, 7 years since the day we met. Some people are permanent in ways that don't fit labels. Proud of you always. August 17th. My first response wasn't even anger. It was this metallic feeling, this sound just suddenly missing from the room. I read the caption again. I zoomed in like maybe those weren't his hands, or maybe that wasn't her, or maybe I had opened a portal to another universe where my boyfriend honored his ex on our anniversary, and I was just watching from the wrong seat. I checked the date again, August 17th. I glanced at my phone screen, where I'd written August 17th in marker and also, like a teenager, drawn goofy hearts in the corner. I refreshed. It was still up. People were commenting. Little heart eyes and OMG throwback, and some "we love to see it" from people who had known them then. Mara commented a blue heart, then another one, and a star. He answered with 2 stars. To the rest of the world, it was a tender moment. To me, I don't know. I saw my table setting for 2. I saw myself reflected in the window pane next to an old photo of a life before me. And here's the part that I hate myself a little for. I tried to make excuses for him. Maybe it's her birthday? Maybe it's some project for art? Maybe it's a post he pre-scheduled and forgot to delete? Please. I was negotiating with a fire alarm. My fingers fell on Mara's profile because I had looked once or twice before. In that way you look up your partner's exes and attempt to look for what you share, and try to look for what you don't. Her page was filled with candles and calves from hikes and hands holding mug handles. And then there it was, one of those carousel posts from years ago. There were pictures of a beach trip, a worn-in flannel blanket on the beach, a hand-lettered sign she'd made that said 8.17 always stuck in the dunes as a joke. I read through her August 17th's captions like a detective who'd finally found the calendar of the crime. He took me to see meteors on August 17th. Pancakes at midnight, August 17th is sacred. 7 years ago today, I asked for extra syrup and said yes to everything. It unraveled before me, a timeline that didn't include me, and I knew the date I'd thought was ours had been theirs. I remember the exact second I noticed my hand shaking so hard I had to put the phone down on the counter as if it would burn me. The candle trembled. The wax dropped in. My voice out loud to no one was no. No. He had placed our anniversary on his old one. And I know you're wondering, did I ask him? Did I ever ask why he picked that day? Here's the ugly part. I didn't. He suggested it, and I accepted. It felt random and summer slow. It felt like it meant something, that it wasn't some big holiday. We're creative, aren't we? We make our own days. Except he'd already made one. My head felt that prickly kind of hot, like crying without the relief. I called him. No response. I called again. Voicemail, his voice bright like sunshine. Leave it. The old inside joke that now belonged to another person. I texted, Evan. Call me. What is that post? Is this a joke? 3 dots. Then nothing. Then, Lena, I'm driving. I glared at those words. Then I took my keys. I don't know why I thought going somewhere would help. Maybe I needed motion so that I wouldn't turn into furniture. He had told me where he was ages ago, safety, he'd said, so that I would know when he was in the area and heat up dinner or meet him at the door. I looked at the map. He was on Belmont, near the red door. It's not actually red. Let me know if you need any more help. It's a dark maroon that looks brown at night, and the bar itself smells nostalgically of spilled beer and lemon cleaner. We used to go on Thursdays for the trivia. He would whisper wrong answers in my ear on purpose. I parked badly and sat in my car for a long time, listening to my own breath. I was saying to myself that I was just going to see if he was okay. I was saying I wasn't going in. I went in. Red door was loud in the close way that other people's laughter makes a kind of blanket if you're not the one it's embracing. I scanned the room and found him immediately. Evan has this curl in his hair I'd be able to identify in a crowd the size of a stadium. He was at a small table against the wall, leaning forward, hands moving the way they do when he's trying to find the right thing to say. Across from him, Mara. Real, in a too large sweater even in the August heat, her fists clasped around a glass she wasn't drinking. Her hair was shorter than in the pictures. She was looking at him as if the room were a radio and he was the only station. I didn't cross. I saw him laugh, a brief, nervous puff of air. I saw Mara reach out and touch his wrist, just a touch. Like you touch a museum statue you know you shouldn't, and you can't help yourself. It was small. It was everything. I backed away into the night before either of them could see me. The air tasted like city and damp and whatever was left of my confidence. I laid my head on the steering wheel in the car and counted to 10. The radio played some song that sounded like summer, and I hated it for that. I didn't head home right away. I went down to the river and watched the water go by like an answer I never got to hear. I tried to think like a person who loves her boyfriend and trusts him. Maybe he had gone to be with her. Maybe some date had some meaning I did not know. Maybe I was inscribing the worst possible story onto a set of facts that could mean a dozen kinder things. Then my phone buzzed. A text, "I'm coming home. Can we talk?" I wrote and erased and wrote and erased until my battery crept into the red. Then I headed home to my apartment where the candle had melted itself into a weird shape and the ZD had formed a rectangle of regret. Evan came in with that face, like a dog who ate the couch cushion and knew it. He closed the door gently. He took off his shoes like the sound of it mattered. "Hey," he said. His voice cracked on the word like a bead on a string. "Hey," I said, and it didn't sound like me. "I'm sorry," he started. "Are you?" I put my hands in my pockets because I couldn't be trusted not to take flight. "Because I read your post, Evan." He swallowed. Yeah, I know. And I saw you at Red Door." He shut his eyes like that pained him. He nodded. Okay, I said. "Then say it out loud." "It's complicated," he tried. "The two words I've come to despise more than cilantro in brownies." "Try anyway," I said. He drew up a chair at the kitchen table like we were about to have an ordinary conversation about bank statements. He twirled a thread on his sleeve. "I should have spoken up," he said. "About the date. About a lot of things." "Sure thing," I said, overenthusiastically. "That would have been great." He winced. "Mara and we picked August 17th for our anniversary because of this dumb meteor shower we sat on a blanket in her backyard like we were a movie. He stopped. "It was special. When we broke up, I didn't know what to do with that day. It came around and it hurt. So last year when I was with you and it was coming up, he rubbed his hand over his face. I wanted to make something new with it. I thought if we claimed it, it would stop hitting me." "And did it?" I asked. "For a little while," he said. "And then today I saw her post something about 7 years, and he looked at me then. I went to visit her. Her mother died last year today. She posted about me, but she wasn't okay. I shouldn't have gone and not said anything to you. I shouldn't have posted. That was God, that was insensitive. But I didn't go because I want to be with her. I went because I felt obligated. I don't know how to explain that without sounding like an idiot. I let that hang. The word responsible looping. "You forgot our anniversary," I said to him. "You forgot about me. And you remembered her. You wrote, 'Some people are permanent in ways that don't fit labels, Evan.' That's not checking in on someone. That's making a statement. We both know what that is." I meant, he looked at a loss. "I meant that some people leave their mark on who you are, and it's not romantic. It felt romantic," I said, hardly above a whisper. "To me. Because I'm your girlfriend. Because this is our kitchen and my oven and our terrible Fox wine half empty on that counter." My voice started shaking and I hated it. "And because you told me this date was ours. You wanted me to make memories with you to replace someone else's. You built a fort in my living room out of duct tape and string lights and your mouth on my shoulder, and I thought it was ours. And today you brought it back." He opened his mouth, closed it. I'm sorry, he said, and something in his eyes looked like genuine apology, the kind that gets under your fingernails and stings. I think you are, I said. I also think you're still with her. Not in the way that gets you caught. In the way that makes you keep your phone face down and use words like permanent. I think you wanted both things. To be good to the girl you used to love and to love me now. And I think the thing you didn't want was to pick. So you let the day decide for you. He put his head in his hands. I don't want to hurt you. How's that working out? I said, and then I did laugh, though it wasn't funny. We sat with the hurt like it was furniture we were stuck with. I looked at the photo he'd posted, still up, because the internet is forever in the ways we don't need. I recalled the evening he'd made soup, one of those winter evenings when the floor is cold enough you wear your heaviest socks and still curl up your toes. He'd put the bowl in my hands and tell me, this is the good part. I thought about all the little good parts and how they add up to something you can't ignore even when you know there's mold under the wallpaper. Why didn't you tell me? I said. Why didn't you say, hey, August 17th is a problem for me. Can we pick another day? I would have said okay. I would have burned candles any day. I didn't want to make it less romantic, he said. I didn't want to be that guy who brings his ex into his new thing. I didn't want to look at you and tell the truth and risk you walking away before I got to show you how good I could be. There it was. The dirty string. I stood up because if I sat 1 minute longer, I'd start to do that thing where I nod yes to things I don't mean. My hands were steadier now than they had been. I can't be in a relationship with a ghost, I said to him. I can't be loved along with a person you call permanent and cling to like a pet guilt. I can't be a retelling of an old story. If you need August 17th to grieve or to recall or to be great, I get it. I'm not going to be here for it. He seemed like I'd hit him. You're leaving. I shrugged, but it wasn't casual. It was me holding myself up. I'm choosing myself. On my anniversary. How's that? He got up so fast his chair scraped. Lena, please. Talk to me. Let me fix it. I don't think you can repair it, I said to him, and my voice wasn't edged now. It was soft, and in its softness, I found something like steel. Because this isn't a mess, it's a map. It shows where you go when you're lost. You go back to her. Perhaps you think you're being kind. Perhaps you are. But it leaves me alone at a table with a candle and a playlist and a meal I had to end up tossing. He took a step closer to me and stopped as if there was a line on the floor he couldn't cross. I'll remove the post, he said, like it was a lifeline. Do what you want online, I told him. I'm worried about actual life. He nodded, like he got it, but also like he really, really didn't want to. He started to say things, lists of things he'd do, therapy and boundaries and dates on other nights, apologies to be made, dinners to cook. I listened. I thought he meant it. I also knew what I needed in order to save the piece of myself that wasn't negotiable. I got a bag and tossed some essentials in it, charger, sweater, toothbrush. I took the photo off the fridge of us with popsicles on a summer sidewalk and put it in the top drawer instead of the trash because I'm not an arsonist. He looked at me and cried once, tears he tried to snuffle back like a teenager. I felt such a strong urge to hug him that I had to hug my own arms, because sometimes compassion is another way of delaying a decision. I turned in the doorway. I'm not saying never, I said to him, because I am not a prophet. I'm saying not like this. I'm saying you need to choose if your loyalty is love or if it's habit. I'm saying I deserve to be with someone who doesn't pick an anniversary because it's in their history. And I think you deserve to let go or go back. Not whatever this was. He nodded. I'm so sorry, he repeated, and I let it drop a bit closer this time. He was sorry. I left anyway. I drove all the way across town to my sister's house, and I turned off the radio on the way and rolled down the window and let the night talk. I did cry once, loudly enough that someone in the car next to me looked over, and I pretended to yawn. I laughed once because sometimes your body just doesn't know which water to choose. I got to her house, and she put a soft shirt in my arms and a glass of water on the coaster and didn't say, I told you so, because she never had said, I told you so. She crawled into bed with me like we were kids and let me pick a stupid show to watch until I fell asleep in a way that felt earned. I did everything slowly the next day. I drank coffee on the stoop with her cat, trying to decide whether it liked me or not. I wrote down small things I could do that would return me to my body: laundry, a walk, phoning my mom and saying not the entire story, but enough. I considered reclaiming the day. Not due to any nobility, but since I'm stubborn and petty and did not want August 17th to be entirely sorrows. That night, therefore, I purchased myself a cupcake. I lit a candle, a plain old supermarket type that smells like vanilla and dust. I sat on her stoop, and I began to make a list of anniversaries that I could commemorate myself. August 17th, the day I knew I wanted someone who'd choose me with both hands. The day I remembered that I can ritualize anything, starting with the ritual of walking away from what hurts. Evan texted. A lot. He said he'd taken down the post. He said he'd told Mara no, that he couldn't be that guy for her anymore. He said he loved me. I think he loves me. I also think love isn't a band-aid you put on a broken bone. You have to set it. You have to hold it still while it heals. You have to let it hurt. I didn't interrupt him. I told him I needed space. I told him to take his time to decide. He said he would. Perhaps he will. Perhaps he won't. The resolution, if that's what you're looking for, isn't climactic. It's simply me getting used to being in the same space as my own choices. It's me looking at how my heart speeds up when I think about going back and questioning if that race is a dash towards what I need or a sprint away from alone. Here's what I know now that I didn't know sitting on my kitchen floor last night. What anniversaries are not as proof. They're promises we remake. I want to be with someone who doesn't reuse promises, who looks at a date and wonders not, can this hide an older mark, but what new thing can we create? I want to be with someone who would have said August 17th was complicated and then, with me, picked August 18th or July 2nd or some ordinary Tuesday. I want to feel like a beginning, not a fix. I returned to the apartment this afternoon to retrieve a few more things. It was quiet. The melted candle was still a wax topography of last night. The Fox wine was empty. I just stood there and I said, aloud like an idiot, I forgive you, and then I forgive me. For not asking questions. For wanting so badly to be easy. For ignoring grit because the path seemed beautiful. I don't know what happens next. I believe that's the idea. We weren't promised tidiness. We were promised possibility. And last night, he showed me who he was in a moment when he didn't have time to orchestrate. I showed him who I was in the moment that followed. A person who can stand when it would be simpler to sit. A person who can let a date go and still retain the story. In case you've experienced anything akin, I'm curious to know your thoughts in the comments. And if this testimony moved you even a little, don't shy away from liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell.